I did get everything done today that I was planning, that I had planned. The animals got the booster shot, and half the animals needed the booster, and half the animals needed the primer shot. And I got that done. And then I went over to the leased property, and about five, six, seven of the cattle, something like that, just about five, six, seven of them had jumped the fence and gone over to the other side of a fence. But I got very fortunate because when they went over, they just stood there on the other side of the fence and just they just stood there. And so I got very fortunate. I did bring them all back onto the property, and then I fixed up the fence. And yeah, I'm getting pretty good at fixing up these fences, and yeah, I'm gonna make sure that I get that squared away. I'm gonna make sure that I go around and just I'm gonna just fix up anytime that I have any time. I'm gonna just fix up the fence. It doesn't take but a couple of minutes, and I'm getting pretty good at it. And so yeah, I'm gonna see what I can do to yeah. I mean, sometimes these cattle will get over a fence, and then yeah. But my cattle, I tend to them every day, and they just kind of like being in the spot that I put them in. And so my cattle, they all I had about five, about a handful, just over a handful or so cattle jump a fence. But when they jumped that fence, and they were standing on the other side of the fence, they didn't go anywhere. They just stood there, and they were looking like they were looking to come back. And so yeah, but I got them all put back on the field. Tomorrow morning, I will be taking animals to the sale barn. Okay, tomorrow morning early, I will be taking animals to the sale barn. I will. I got everything done today that I was looking to get done today. Everything that I had planned today, I got done. I got the animals, all their vaccinations, etc., etc. And yeah, so the animals that got the booster today will be going to the lease property on Monday. They'll be going to the lease property on Sunday. So the day after tomorrow, I got them their vaccinations this morning. So by about Sunday afternoon, by about Sunday evening, Sunday afternoon, it'll effectively have been about 3 days, and they should be okay. They should be okay. All of my animals are in very good health. I'm not concerned about it, and yeah. So I will be taking the animals that got their booster to the lease property, and then the animals that got the primer shot. I am now okay with commingling calves with them. So I will be bringing in new calves, and I will be mixing them in with the calves that I had just given their primer shot to. And so on Monday, I will be bringing home new calves. I'm taking a look at it. I do honestly have about five cattle that are ready to go right now. If I put the five on them on the scale, I may even have a few more, but I definitely at least have five cattle that if I put them on the scale, it might be six or seven. If I put them on the scale together, they would hit the scale at about 800, 850 pounds on the average. And so I figured, well, if I sell four, my whole thing about I'm really looking to liquidate at about 800, 850. Okay, I'm not really looking to take them over 850. My cattle right now, they're gonna hit the scales real hard, and so but I'm not concerned about it because it didn't cost me anything, right? I have them on a buffet. That buffet is gonna cost me what the buffet cost me. It just is what it is. Okay, so with that, all that going on, I got uh I got new calves coming in on Monday. I will take my earnings. I will take the earnings and I will reinvest those earnings and I will grow the business. And it's looking like I'll probably end up selling four. Well, I mean, I'll more than likely end up selling four. I'll end up buying about seven. That's probably what's going to end up happening. And then I'll come home with a few $1,000s cash, maybe $3,000, $4,000, something like that cash. And so with the commodity market, right? I'm looking to reinvest my earnings back into the commodity market. My whole thing is, oh yeah, this is the one thing that I was going to bring up is that the cattle market kind of rebounded. I do still think that we are potentially in a potential entering a bear market for the broader asset market. I do think that we are potentially entering a bear market for the broader asset market. And bear markets aren't a big deal, right? I talk about bear markets, right? Sometimes the broader asset market just falls. It just is what it is. If you look at the stock market and you think, oh man, this thing is going to go up and to the right forever, if that is genuinely what you think, you're an idiot. Okay, the stock market moves in three directions. All right, it moves up, down, and sideways. You don't want to be in a situation where you're legitimately thinking that the stock market is just going to go up and to the right forever. Okay, and when it comes down to it, what am I going to do? My whole thing is, well, the cattle market did rebound. It dropped 20%, and then it recovered about half those losses. Okay, so it went from 380 down to about it went from about 380 to about it was like 310. It went from 380 to 310, and then it went back up to about 340. So it fell about 20%, and then it recuperated. It recovered about half those losses, and right now, and it doesn't really matter. My whole thing about my leverage system is that I'm looking to utilize a different leverage system here early next year. But for whatever it means, I mean, it does. I guess it does mean something. It's just a good feeling. But when I look at the balance sheet, it's just good to know that the balance sheet is like this. I am under 80% leveraged. I am under 80% leverage against the equity of my cattle herd. It did happen simply because the I didn't liquidate or reinvest or anything. It just simply happened because right I had my cattle and then the price fell and then the price went back up, and so I am back at under 80% debt to equity already. And so when I take my profits next week and I reinvest those profits, my debt to equity ratio will fall more substantially, more rapidly. Okay, so that's a good situation to be in. It doesn't really mean anything simply because with the new business plan, right? I've discussed the new business plan for next year. Well, how am I looking to run my business and what am I looking to do? And I've also determined that the whole idea of the S&P 500 is that if I have capital, whenever I have capital that I do not believe that I can utilize and make a 15% return, and if I believe that I have capital that I cannot utilize and make a 15% return on, I will invest the money into the S&P 500. That's what I've decided. If I have when I have capital and I take a look at the capital and I determine I can make a 15% or more, right? The whole thing about logically making money with capital allocation, right? The whole idea of utilizing capital to make more money, utilizing capital to make more capital, right? The whole idea about this is that it's very systematic. Okay, it's not like I'm throwing myself into the wind. There are many fail safes. All right, the thing about it is right, it's like once you understand the idea like from a fundamental standpoint, that's very important, right? And I've even discussed the idea of just buying a broad market ETF and reinvesting the dividends, right? This is something that I put a lot of emphasis on. If you have a good investment, and the good thing about a broad market ETF is that when you buy a broad market ETF, that ETF is counterbalanced by the bond market. Okay, you have a natural fail safe in your investment, and that is the bond market. Okay, even if your investment goes down, don't panic, don't freak out, don't sell it, don't anything. Okay, if you have a broad market ETF and your investment tanks like 50%, it doesn't matter. Okay, it doesn't matter. You could go and whatever, accumulate more assets for a very low interest rate. Okay, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, and I'm not saying leverage yourself to the eyeballs or anything like that. I'm not encouraging that. But if you okay, let's just be serious about this. Like if you bought the S&P 500, right? And let's say that you let's take multiple different scenarios for this. Let's say that you bought the let's say that you started buying the S&P 500 today, okay? Let's say that you started buying the S&P 500 today and you purchased the S&P 500 every month for the next 10 years. And let's say that your first year that you bought the S&P 500 there was some financial catastrophe and the S&P 500 fell by 50%. And then after it fell by 50%, it continued it still produced you your 1.2% dividend. Let's say you got the VOO or something, some kind of an S&P tracker. And let's say that you were putting money into the S&P 500. Let's just say for 1 year. And let's say that you put $2,000 a month into the S&P 500, right? And over 1 year later, your investment, the value of the S&P 500 fell by 50%. What if that happened, right? What does it matter? Okay, I mean, you would have lost, and you would not have lost anything. Your stock would have gone from 24,000 to 12,000. Okay, that's what would have happened. your stock would have gone from 24,000 to 12,000, but you still have a good asset. And I mean, interest rates would be borderline like zero, potentially negative. Okay, and just continue to buy, because if you buy, if the stock falls 50% and you buy it, you are getting to purchase that stock at 50% of the cost, right? Let's say it goes from $100 to $50. Well, if you bought it at $100 and you bought it at $50, then you bought it at an average of $75, right? And so you wouldn't have lost 50%. And technically, you don't lose money unless you sell your investment, okay? And so as long as you have a good investment, don't even worry about it. Don't even look at it. All right. I mean, I'm being, I would even go as far as to say, don't even look at it for the next 50 years. Okay. Just buy some kind of a broad market ETF. The S&P 500 is a very good one. Okay. Buy the VOO, buy the, that's a good one. And just put money into it and never look at it. Okay. Just never look at it. And, and just I'm not gonna say don't ever look at it, because I mean you should look at your investments every once in a while, okay? But don't. My whole thing about capital allocation is just you don't like freak out, okay? Don't freak out. A lot of people have a lot of problems with like emotional instability. All right, this is something that, like me, one of the things that really benefited me was that, like me, when I look at an investment, I don't feel anything other than this. This is legitimately all I feel all the time, 24/7, 365. The stock market could be going up, the cattle market could be going up, the cattle market could be going down, whatever could be happening, and this is how I would feel the entire time. All right, this is effectively how I feel all the time. It doesn't matter what's happening. All right. I don't get excited when the market's going up. I don't get sad when the market's going down. I don't freak out when the market's going down. I don't get upset when the market is going down. I don't whatever. Okay. If the market's going sideways, I don't sit there and pray that it goes up. Okay. I don't get emotionally involved with capital allocation. Okay. When it comes to getting emotionally involved, I mean, why would you get emotionally involved with a piece of paper, right? I mean, get emotionally involved with the animals, right? Because the animals will actually feel emotion, right? The animals feel happy, the animals feel sad, right? The animals get emotionally. Don't get emotionally involved with a piece of paper, all right? Why would you do that? It's a waste of time and it's a waste of energy. Don't get sad about your. I mean, don't get sad when the market goes down. Don't get happy when the market goes up. Okay, it's not going to do anything. Your emotions don't matter. All right, and so your emotions are definitely not going to do anything to the market. Okay, if you sit there and you pray that the thing goes back up, it doesn't. It's. I mean, it might go up, right? I mean, but you praying doesn't have anything to do with it. Okay, the thing might go up, the thing might go sideways, the thing might go down, but as long as you buy a good investment and you hold on to it forever, that's what's more important, okay? And if you have a broad market ETF and it's producing you a dividend, you effectively have an indestructible asset, all right? You do. That's effectively what it is. It's an indestructible asset. It does not matter. It does not matter whatever happens to whatever, okay? If you have the broad market ETF and you invest into that, you're good to go. And from what I have seen in my life, in terms of and when I talk about my financial situation, right? I mean, I make about $1,400 a day right now. I make about $1,400 a day. I don't have any issues. Okay, I'm not having any kind of difficulty. My balance sheet is actually under 80% debt to equity ratio as of today, simply because the market rebounded a bit. I do still believe that we are potentially at risk of entering a broader bear market, broader asset bear market. Bear markets are not the end of the world. Okay, asset prices are high, interest rates are high. It's a very difficult situation with everything going on. Okay, so bear markets are not the end of the world. Sometimes they happen. All right, the whole thing about uh sometimes they happen. Okay, bear markets, sometimes markets go down, sometimes market goes sideways, sometimes markets go up. That's just how it is. Okay, things don't just go up into the right forever. If you invest into something hoping and praying that the thing just keeps going up into the right forever, I mean, you're in the wrong investment. Okay, if you bought an investment, you should be okay with holding on to your investment effectively your entire life. All right, Like if you're going to invest into the cattle business, you should be okay with, right? I mean, just or whatever your investment is. When you invest into it, you should not be investing into it so that you can just flat out just make some money next year or this year or the year after that. It should be something that you understand and that you it just is what it is. Okay, I mean that's how you can actually make money, right? I mean, and the whole thing about it is habitually making money. Okay, if you and a lot of people habitually lose money. Okay, a lot of people do habitually lose money. Oh, a lot of people find it amusing to lose money. Okay, it's not amusing to lose money. All right, a lot of people are in just it's just I mean effectively unrecoverable. A lot of people are legitimately in a situation where it's just too late. All right, I would and my whole thing about that is that when I say that, I'm not being malicious about it. I'm not being a prick about it. I would effectively bet anything. And if you manage to make it, I would be very happy for you. Okay? Like when I take a if you manage to make it, I would be very happy for you, okay? But let's just be honest about it. Like me, when I take a look at what I'm doing right now, right? I mean, I've spoken about this whole thing, and I'm not gonna. My whole thing about it is that like if I didn't go through what I went through, I would not have made it. Okay, I when I take a look at it, oh, I would not have made it here without God. Okay, I didn't sell my soul to the devil to make money. Okay, when it comes to me making money, I make money in the cattle business. I legitimately make money in the cattle business. That's how I make a vast majority of my money. There's a very legitimate possibility that my net worth goes up over $50 million in the next year, 2 years, something like that. There's a very legitimate possibility of that happening. I'm not concerned about it. Okay, even right now, I make about $1,400 a day, and at $1,400 a day, I can effectively buy anything. All right, I reasonably anticipate that I could actually double my earnings by probably about March or April of next year. And once I've doubled my earnings, I will actually start leveraging against my earnings. Right, that's the whole idea of the business plan. Oh, like me, when I liquidate my animals, I probably do have about 5 animals that are about 850 pounds on the average. I have about 5 animals that are 750 pounds on the average. I have 4 or 5 calves that are about 650 pounds on the average. I have about 7 or 8 cattle that are about maybe about 450 on the average, and then I have 8 cattle that are about 550 on the average. I probably honestly I took a look at them, and I think I have about 15 animals that are about 450 on the average. They're about 500 on the average. I have about 15 of them between 400 and 500, and then I have another 8 animals that are about 350, 300 on the average. And then when I bring them home next week, when I bring home a set of 7 calves or so, I will bring them home probably at about 2 1/4. Okay, so I'll have 7 calves at 2 1/4, 8 calves at three and a quarter, and then I'll have 8 calves that are about 450, 7 8 calves that are about 450, and then I'll have about whatever right all the way up. Okay, and I would reasonably say that I brought home my animals at an average weight of about 250 pounds. Okay, I brought home all of my animals. If I were to take a look at the average weight of what I brought them home at, I would say it was about 250. And so that's a very it just is what it is type of look at it. My whole thing about the commodity market is that with the markets rebounding, I haven't been to the I haven't been to the sale barn in about a month. I haven't been to the sale barn in here in about a month. I haven't been to the sale barn, and the if the people are going nuts again, okay, and the whole thing about it is they might, okay, a lot of these things, the wheels just kind of go round and round and round, and even in this video I've spoken about there is effectively nothing that can be done about this. I mean, people are habitually stuck in this death loop of poorness, right? E- even and this is the whole thing about like when I take a look at it, like the amount of difference that I can actually make in the world, it's kind of like this ironic thing for me. It's like this ironic thing that I can do anything, but I can't do anything about it. I can effectively do anything on the entire. I can legitimately, effectively do anything, and I'm not saying I can do everything because I can't do everything. Like I can't do, and I'm not. And my whole thing about anything is that within a moral boundary. Okay, I'm not gonna go and steal organs from people and stuff like that. Okay, I'm not gonna go into maliciously start doing things. Okay, I'm not gonna go into whatever. Right, I'm not gonna go and do horrible malicious things. All right, and I can effectively do anything, but I can't do anything. It's like this ironic thing. It's like this cosmically ironic thing that I can effectively do anything that I feel like. I can effectively do anything, but I can't do anything. It's almost feels like every single day it's just like a it's just like a it's just like a it's just like a continuous fight against this thing that is just like it's like what the heck, right? I mean, people are on this like this eternal. A lot of people are like on this eternal loop of just effectively what I call kicking themselves in the dick. A lot of people are, and it's real, and it's not funny, it's not amusing. I'm not kicking anybody while they're down. I'm not making fun of anybody. I'm not bashing anybody. It's just the wheels just go round and round and round, and it's like every day. It's like it's like looking to stop this thing, and it's just like this. It's like this perpetual battle, almost is what it turns into, right? And it's like, well, I mean, and this whole thing just keeps going round and round and round, right? And it's like, how do you stop this perpetual loop of just like of just ill will almost, right? A lot of people are desperate. A lot of people are idiots. A lot of people are whatever. I fell out of heaven a seven. A lot of people are just whatever. Okay, there are a lot of people are a massive pile of problems. All right, a lot of people are a massive pile of problems, and my whole thing is like when you actually go out and you look to do the work, and I'm just gonna say there is a very I would reasonably anticipate that I just about double my earnings. Okay, I would just about double. I will end up with about 80 cattle by about March. Okay, and 80 cattle. I will end up with about 80. Okay, and 80 cattle. I will end up with about 70 or 70 cattle, 80 cattle by about April, something like that. 75 cattle, 70. I'll just say 70. I'll end up with about 70 cattle by about April, and that will be with me just reinvesting my earnings and putting the money back into my business, not using any leverage. Okay, if I were to go, if the whole thing is the reason that I'm doing that is so I can put money away in the equity of my animals, I can put money away in my herd so that I can utilize that capital to effectively provide a margin of safety when I leverage against my earnings, right? When I leverage against my cash flow. And my whole thing is I don't need all 1.5 million, $2 million immediately. I will see what the bank gives me. I will go and talk to the bankers about getting my loans. Okay, and I will see what the banks. I will talk to them about doing real estate deals. I will see what the banks will give me for real estate. I'll see what the banks will give me for cattle, and I will have a lot of equity put away, etc., etc. Okay, and so and with all that, that's the whole idea of here what's going to happen in about 3 months. And next week, the rubber's going to hit the road effectively. But I'm already just because the market rebounded, I'm actually already entered a spot with my balance sheet where it's like I'm already right back into the diamond fortress type situation. All right, I'm so far away from bankruptcy, it doesn't matter. All right, I have such a large margin between me and bankruptcy that it's like for me to go into bankruptcy territory, I would have to stop growing my business completely. I would have to if I would have to stop growing my business completely and then lose 90% of the money. That would put me in near financial hot water. Okay, and realistically, the only way for that to happen is for me to like start doing drugs. Okay, if I started doing drugs, if I started gambling, then I could do that. That could happen to me. If I got hit by a tornado, then I guess it's all gone. Okay, but I mean, my family could liquidate my cattle and liquidate my investments, and at least I would have that. And so, right with everything, my financials are squared away. Okay, long story short, just because the cattle market did rebound, and even if the cattle market did not rebound, if I just reinvested my earnings and then raised those animals for 1 month, I would effectively be good to go. Right? I mean, I would be in the same exact situation that I'm in right now, but I the markets did rebound, and I am under 80% leverage. Okay, and so I'm so far away from bankruptcy that it's Yeah, I don't lose sleep over anything. I don't lose sleep over my debt. I don't lose sleep over whatever. I don't lose sleep over anything. Okay, if I had nothing, I just redo it all. It doesn't matter. Okay, and in all honesty, even at $1,400 a day, I effectively make enough money to where it's perfectly just whatever, right? I mean, that's enough money for me to not worry about it. All right, if my whole thing about it is, it's whatever. Okay, if even if I had nothing and I had to redo it all, at least I know that I can do this. And if I can make $1,400 a day by myself, then I'm not concerned about it anymore. All right, why would I be concerned about it? It's effectively enough money for me to live comfortably. I don't have to worry about it. And so, with everything, even if I just reinvest my earnings for the next 3 or 4 months, I will probably end up with about 70 cattle. All right, about the next 4 or 5 months, I'll say 4 or 5 months. By about April, I'll have about 70 cattle by just reinvesting my earnings. And the animals, I will be liquidating about 7 or 8 calves a month. Okay, and then when I liquidate 7 or 8 calves and I reinvest the earnings, it'll turn into me liquidating about 12 a month, etc., etc. I will leverage against my earnings. If I'm liquidating 12 a month and the feeder cattle market goes sideways, I mean, we're talking about me. I probably and my whole thing is like and my whole thing about the business plan, right? About the margin of safety and why am I doing what I'm doing? It's because when I leverage against 1/3 of my earnings, I still have 2/3 of my earnings left over, right? And that's my safe. That's my margin. That's my first fail safe. My first fail safe is that if I leverage against 1/3 of my earnings, I still have 2/3 of my earnings left over every month to figure out what needs to get done to make sure that my leverage does not go over 1/3 of my earnings. And in all honesty, if I leverage against 1/3 of my earnings, it's actually a lagging indicator because if I am reinvesting the money back into my business, I'm not going to go and buy bigger animals, right? I'm not going to sell 500-pound animals and then buy 700-pound animals, right? I'm going to go and sell 800-pound animals and buy 200-pound animals, right? I'll sell 900-pound animals and I'll buy 300-pound animals, something like that, right? I'm not going to go and sell 700-pound cattle and then buy 800-pound cattle, right? That's the idea of the commodity market, right? Trading the commodity market. And my whole thing about trading the commodity market is if I go to the market and people are just going nuts again, right? I mean, a lot of this stuff you can't stop people from it. It's I don't it's and a lot of people, right? When they enter this, a lot of people actually when they enter this situation, what will actually end, and this is also part of the doom loop is that a lot of people they habitually make these horrible problems. They have these habitually horrible problems, right? A lot of people do, right? They have these massive issues, and there's effectively and a lot of people, and I've actually said that you actually see I actually see this happen a lot. Is that when people encounter the problems manifest in real life, a lot of people end up selling their souls to the devil. A lot of people at that point will sell their soul to the devil. People are not like if somebody's an I fell out of heaven a seven mode, right? If somebody's I fell out of heaven a seven mode, and let's say that you take a look, let's say you have a person who's in I fell out of heaven a seven mode, right? And when you take a look at what I'm doing, I actually do this in real life. For whatever it means something, right? I'm not saying it's everything, okay? It's not like, oh my God, I'm not like rubbing this in anybody's face. I'm not here to, right? I'm not here to be like, oh my God, I'm not here to fiddle my own diddly, right? I'm not rubbing this in anybody, but I actually made it. Okay, but I will probably end up just about doubling my earnings without any debt if I just invest my earnings over the next 4 or 5 months into my business and I just do decently okay. If I just do okay, right? I talk about the idea of doing okay, and not if I don't. I'm not talking about if I do great, and I'm not talking about if I do horribly. If I just do okay, I will just about double my earnings over the next 4 or 5 months. Okay, something like that. Probably will. Okay, and sometimes my margins aren't that great, but sometimes my margins are fantastic, and I will probably end up somewhere between 50 and 100% growth over the next 4 or 5 months. Okay, I probably will. And so, but a lot of people, this is something that I've discussed. A lot of people, when they enter this situation where they're right, their problems have manifested into a situation that it's whatever, right? It goes against their belief system. Then a lot of these people immediately sell their soul to the devil. Okay, Oh well, I thought I fell out of heaven at 7, and I thought my life was a magical journey, but it turns out that it can't even do 10%. Well, then it's like they instead of going, oh wow, maybe I should work on this and maybe I should look to improve and look to work on something, and they'll immediately start doing things like, well, everything's impossible, right? This is something that a lot of people do. Oh, and when people tell you it's impossible, when somebody tells you something is impossible, what they're doing is they are putting that they're putting their problems, they're putting their problems on you. All right, they for them it is impossible because of that, and now they're trying to put that on you, right? That's what they're doing. They're reflecting themselves onto you. Like me, when I talk about it, I say, well, I mean, there's no problem, there's no reason why you can't do 10%, and the money's not everything, but it's something. And when we take a look at it, I mean, right now I make about $500,000 a year. I make about I'll probably end up going to about $1 million a year here very soon. I may even end up going to $2 million a year here very soon. And it's I mean, I actually do it in real life, and if you made it, I'd be very happy for you, right? I mean, and I'm being completely honest about this. I'm being completely sincere about it. If you did 10%, I mean, even if you did 10%, I'd be very happy for you. But if we were talking about money in a realistic term, I mean, we're talking about 10% being about $100,000 a year. If you were doing $100,000 a year, you'd be making about 10%. All right, you'd be doing about 10%, and there's a very legitimate possibility that this turns into 10% might turn into $200,000 here very soon. All right. And so I am looking to invest with a little bit of leverage, and I'm not using any leverage right now, and I will still end up just about increasing the size by just about doubling the size of my business over the next 4 or 5 months. And so with everything, right? I mean, but a lot of people this doom loop of the I'm not even gonna call it the doom loop of poorness, and I'm gonna call it this perpetual doom loop. Like stopping the doom loop is almost feels like it's like a battle into infinity is what it feels like on the cosmic scale, right? That's what it legitimate feels like because a lot of people they enter this doom loop and then it ends up with them selling their souls to the devil. That's what it ends up with, right? That's effectively how it turns out. And it's not funny, right? It's like this horrendous thing that's happening to people and it's this awful thing, right? And it's like how do you stop that from happening? Right? That's the cosmic question. That's the right that's the cosmic battle, I suppose.